Good morning. This is Functional Movement with Tina, and we are going to focus on shoulders, movement, mobility, and flexion in the shoulder area. This is great for if you want to strengthen your arms. This is also great for if you are recovering from rotator cuff or bursitis, just understanding the movement that you have in the shoulders. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to spend the first half of the class really working on flexion and mobility, stretching the body properly out. And the second half of the class is really focused on strength training, where you'll see sets and circuits. And again, the theme is shoulders. So go ahead and come to your space. It's a good idea when you get up in the morning before you start exercise to at least move around for like 2 hours, hour and a half at best, to get your body in all different planes, right? And so we're going to go through the planes to see if you can get some stretching out of this. You're going to come forward and come back. You get 20 seconds to come forward and back in any style that you feel that you want to. If you want to work on going as low as you can, and then coming back up, or just doing short reps. It's kind of depending on how your back feels, and again, like how much you've already been moving this morning. Breathe in and out, just making sure the center of your back is not rounded out and sacrificing, bending the knees so that doesn't happen. See if the hands can stretch out for you, if the back feels strong enough, coming all the way up. You can reach out, you can add a little functionality to it if you'd like. You can put yourself in another plane. If you're comfortable with that, that would be a rotation in the thoracic region. That's up to you. Just be careful with that initial movement. It's really just to kind of see what you need to be careful of and watch out for today in our workout. Go ahead and come all the way back. So what was stretching is now contracting. And you want to watch out for your knees. It's okay to go a little soft there as you start opening up the front of your body. And again, you have 20 seconds to do it in a way that you feel comfortable. It could be a low number of reps. If the contraction doesn't feel good, or if you feel tight in the front, it's okay to take your time. You find your depth in your own way. And this move requires a little bit more balance, perception. You start looking up towards the ceiling, and that can affect balance. Just notice what you're feeling and where you're feeling it. And then come all the way up. So we have 2 other areas to move in. There's really only 3 planes. We just mix and match them sometimes. We're going to come out to the sides. So however you're comfortable with this, knowing that you're compressing one side of the spine, like right side of the body, and then you're stretching, say, left side of the body. That could be lifting up through the shoulder. That could be reaching down. Depends on where you're at with this, and see if you can bring as much as your body into that side, tilting your neck, dropping your arm, just try not to swoop forward. And again, it's the same thing. What do you want to do in that 20 seconds? Do you want to do minimal reps? You just want to reach out and stretch a little bit. Keep your weight centered on both feet. You can always push your hips out a little bit more. That's going to open up that stretch. And just see if your knee's okay with that. Let's get to the other side. So same thing. Just take your time. Know the plane that you're in. That's what's most important. And then start to listen to the body as it falls into that plane, that area of movement. It's going to look and feel differently for everybody. And then we're going to go into the final plane, and that is kind of a twisting, or that's a pivoting plane, depending what your spine is okay with. So I will pivot, and I'll do just a little asymmetrical move, sort of a staggered stance. When I pivot, I'm taking very good care of my spine. When I pivot, I'm not asking it to revolve, twist, or rotate. But then you can add that component if you're okay with that. So be coming up to the thoracic region, be twisting at the waist. And then take that 20 seconds. It can be short reps. It can be longer stretches. Seeing how the body responds in this plane. And then you can always add a second plane, right? If you see yourself today, this is functional movement. You see yourself today, maybe doing a movement that involves these various planes. So I'm going to go into transverse plane, I'm going to twist, and then I'm going to come forward. Excellent, that's what it's all about, right? Being able to move your body in all the ways that it needs to go. So a little bit more enhanced in the neck here. Turn the head side to side. We're going to do some vagus nerve or vagal toning. You just want to note here and see if you feel stiff or if you feel off-centered, disaligned, or even just kind of, emotionally upset or unsettled in the brain for a bit. We're going to calm the nerves down. Let's go into salamander stretch. We're going to go same ear, same shoulder. And there might be stiffness, and that's okay. Try not to pull from any other part of the body, be compensating by sort of shifting or something like that in order to get your body or the neck into that plane. Just work with what you have and start with your breathing. Let's go opposite side. And breath can help kind of reduce that stiffness, that tightness. And let's go with a little manual massage. So we're going to start with a metister. So that's in the jaw. Drop the jaw, right? Drop unnecessary muscles. We don't need to clench the jaw. Let's loosen it. Just drawing the fingers down past that bone. And then pulling down into the sternocleidomastoids, the thick muscle right here in the front of the neck. And just massaging that a bit. Excellent. Come all the way up to the claw holes in the back of your head. It's below that big bone, the occipital bone. And then taking fingers, rubbing very, very lightly. Much different than how you're just working your neck muscle. You want to get to a point where when you get into an eyeball stretch, you can actually perhaps sense something on your fingers. Sensory is very important right now with vagal toning. So you want it to be light. You want to see that if we get into this eyeball stretch, you can actually feel something in your fingertips, some nerves moving. So with your fingers just lightly over those potholes, just follow your lines horizontally to one side, or by your eyes, a horizontal line to one side. Stretching your eyeball as much as you can without turning your head. Honoring breaths of the size that come in. And then slowly back to center. And then opposite side. And then back to center. Okay, one hand over the heart, one hand over the stomach. And I just want you to make some humming. Again, this is like cranial nerves. This is vagal toning. This is like stuff that we need to feel better to get out of the fight, flight state and get into more of the rest and digest. So just hands over the heart, breathing and humming. Don't think it's strange. These are 12 cranial nerves. They're going to do with eyesight, how we smell, how we swallow, toning, the way we speak, gut instinct, heart instinct, all this important. So let's go back into Tadasana, mountain pose, and then let's turn the head side to side. Just give us some simple vagal toning exercises, like if you were able to loosen up, something released for you. Okay, into the hips. So let's open up the hips a little bit here. We'll go wide and we'll get the back in there at the same time. And let's do a forward fold and a wide stance. So go ahead, use your chair, use your apparatus, have it right there. Practice a little bit of body weight, which is nice about this is you don't have to have more body weight than what you want to. But as you're coming forward, practice rotating your elbows forward because it really just helps your shoulders kind of lock into place instead of loosey-goosey elbows. Helps to get a little wrist action too. We want those wrists to have their mobility because we're going to need them today when we're holding the band. Just coming forward a little bit, just practicing that little wrist movement of rotating the elbows. And then working on sinking a little bit lower. So maybe bending the elbows, getting into more like a chaturanga position. Keep the elbows close to the side. See if you can feel your blades squeeze together, and then come on up, elbows rotate in, and have the blades spread apart without rounding out the center of your back. So just kind of working on the shoulders a little bit while the hips just stretch out. Those movements with the elbows, rotating them forward, lowering as if you're going into a low plank, going really easy on the body weight. Feeling the blades squeeze together and then pushing yourself all the way up and feeling the blades squeeze apart. Just going through chaturanga, low plank, without all the body weight, getting the hips in there. And then let's concentrate on opening the hips a little bit more. So we're going to bend side to side, making sure your knees coming up the second and third toe. Getting the inner leg to stretch a bit for you. And seeing how the knees are reacting to all of this. They can handle that strength. So you push it over to one side. Maybe coming up as you transfer side to side and remembering a little bit of work with the elbows, rotating the elbows forward. And just mixing those two in. Just becoming a little bit more aware this month of how we work our upper body or treat our upper body when we're using the chair. Excellent, and come all the way up. So there's some nice mobility there, right? Mobility is where we were adding that flexion and that strength. We took some of it away, put it on the chair, but we were still focusing on what was happening with the upper body. Take your time, bring your feet in, feel the strength to be able to do that. Breathe in, breathe out. Let's get a little bit deeper on the spine. There's the spine is stretched out, nice deep posterior stretch. Downward dog and some spinal waves, but because this is shoulders, I'm going to be offering upward facing dog, some planking and then upward facing dog. Now you don't have to take it. It's asking for a lot right out of the gate. So you can kind of get into the stretch into the spinal waves. That's what's going to be good for you. Still concentrating on those elbows, right? Rotating forward. Feeling cat-cow, feeling downward dog. Those might be the best moves for you in this. With the addition of thinking about those elbows, rotating forward. I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to go a little bit forward, a little bit more, and from downward dog and from cat-cow or spinal waves, whatever happens there. I'm going to actually go into plank here. You can try it out too and see how the body, upper body is responding to a plank position. And that might be good enough. You might need to go into a spinal wave and come all the way back. Little cat-cow movement. I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to go from plank into a little bit of chaturanga. So with my elbows rotated forward, I'm going to start to bend. And I'm going to push myself all the way back up into plank. And then back all the way up. Yeah, these steps sound simple, but they're big. They're definitely big. And at any point, if you need to take one out, you can take one out. Going to plank. Going to where I left off, low plank chaturanga, and I'm going to push up into upward facing dog. So it's totally possible to go from plank into upward facing dog and just skip that chaturanga altogether if you're there with me. And then come all the way back up. Stretching out the spine. Excellent, walking forward. And come all the way up. All right, so now we get more serious about the shoulders. So let's start with just flexion. Flexion is where we're not going to add the band yet, that resistance band, which is really crucial that you have for this class. I'm coming down on the floor. I don't expect to stay out of view. I just want to come close so you can see what's happening with the shoulders. Now I can take a yoga block, you can too if you're standing, and you can squeeze that. You can just add nice symmetrical squeeze for the spine, especially the SI joint. So that's a nice addition, but again, you do not have to come down on your knees. It's not expected. I just want to get close here. So let's do some basic flexion with the shoulders. We'll start with some circles. You're just going to go low, thinking, this is a really good place to begin, especially if you have, rotator cuff issues. And trying to draw those circles larger, but your body will kind of tell you what's going to work and what's not going to work. So just pay attention here. You should be feeling a squeeze between the blades and even a squeeze in the glutes. Okay, flexion gets bigger when you take it into one arm. So that's just exactly what you're going to do. Have one of the arm go down. The blade's going to feel like it has a little bit more room to move, but you're also going to feel yourself get into that rotational plane. As you reach for the largest move that you have, your ball and socket working with your shoulder girdle. And just something that's important to note, when we're really reaching up high, we're going to be using spinal, and we're going to be getting into that plane when we're doing those movements in the shoulder. Let's go opposite side and just make sure that you're okay. Five or six moves, we'll do it. And it's very good if you have issues with the shoulders. It's just good to kind of know like where the limitation is. And if there's any other part of your body trying to like unnecessarily come in and sort of do the job, that's where we can start to invite the cumulative injury cycle. Something gets hurt and then something else gets hurt and then something else gets hurt because everything's trying to fix each other and do different jobs that they don't need to be doing. Excellent. Okay, basic pushing and pulling. So extend all the way out without rounding the back. Feel the blades come apart just like you were doing on the chair a bit. And then go ahead and imaginary grab and then pull all the way back and squeeze. And just feel okay with those movements. Knowing that you're working shoulders entirely and that spine is intact. Right, another way that we can hurt ourselves pushing is like just using too much spine there. We need to come from the shoulders here and come from the core and alleviate rotator cuff, right? This is a way that people can hurt themselves a lot. It's like pushing out this way. Push from there, use these muscles. And then we're going to go one arm because again, I want you to feel that slight transverse plane, that slight rotation when we're pushing. Right, you feel that little bit of turn, and then when we're pulling, and we're going with range in what the shoulder girdle and the ball and socket has. So try it on both sides. You feel yourself turning a bit, and as you pull, you're just going based on range. This is what range is going to do with your body. And just feel it out one more time. Excellent. Okay, arm all the way out. So just go into one here. Just like you're kind of grabbing something and twisting, and you just want to feel what the mobility is like in there. So we can do some wrist moves too. As you're moving the ball and socket. You can feel the wrists, extensors and flexors as the hand comes up. You can feel them come down as you turn. See what that wrist movement is like. Go and head in the opposite side. Sometimes we've got to reach for those funny things and turn our wrists and work our ball and socket joint. Breathe in and out and try not to fall in any plane. just let the shoulder girdle do what it's going to do. Hold yourself up like a pillar. Great, arms out, elbows up. Feel the squeeze of the blades like you're squeezing a lemon. And let's go down and hold that squeeze the whole time. Good, so we would call this a little bit more of a strengthening exercise. You're squeezing, you're holding the center of your back. The middle trapezius, it's typically an area the muscles are long and loose, right? And we can see why the muscles are typically long and loose, you know, myself included, is that we tend to hunch over. So this is a great exercise to just get those muscles to contract and work on a little functionality. Crossing guard, that's what this one is, or scarecrow. Excellent, elbows down, and this is a nice classic one for those that have rotator cuff issues. Crossing midline can be really difficult. So push out, and then come all the way across. Keep that elbow hinged on the side. Those rotator cuff muscles, there's 4 of them. They're called your stabilizers. They're not your prime movers or your main muscles. They're just kind of meant to come in and hold things in place while the other muscles do stuff. But we can tend to overuse them and ask those muscles to be lifting big for us. We're gonna cross midline. This can be very difficult for people with shoulder issues, and go a little bit farther, and then come out just a little bit more. A little bit farther, come out just a little bit more. And then opposite side, same thing. Bring that elbow down, basic crossing midline. And then again, notice the compensation. If something happens and you kind of feel your body sort of trying to move in a different way, just honor the range that it has, the functionality that it has, without trying to pull from other parts of the body. And then we're going to open that up. Should be feeling this in the core. Anytime the arm is going to cross midline, there's a little contraction going on in the core area. Squeeze the block. Just isolate, get into that shoulder. All right. There's some initial moves. And we get into our circuits, our sets now. Make sure that you have some water. And you have your band nearby. And then we're going to make the switch. It's going to be focused as a lot more strengthening. If at any time the bands hurt your wrist, you're going to see us pulling them a different way. Every piece of equipment has its pros and cons. Just give it, a couple of seconds. Rotate the wrists, wiggle the fingers, wiggle the thumb a little bit, and then just grab the bands again and just pick up wherever you had left off. So grabbing the band, let's do just a basic crossover between working on flexion and working on strength. So this will be our first mobility. Come on up, give it a little pull. Let's just focus on the strength aspect of this for right now. Another great one to strengthen the middle trapezius, the back area between the shoulder blades. Keep your elbows locked. If you find your elbows are bending, you might have too much pull. And so get your fingers a little bit farther apart. Take off some ounces or a pound as you're pulling. Resistance band is great because you can control it ounces at a time. And all these bands, the different colors that represent different poundage. This one represents as much as 10 to 15 pounds of pull. And strengthening for the middle back. Almost there. I like my sets to be at about 20 seconds. Don't really like to count the reps all the time because I want you to work the period of time yourself and decide, based on how much you're pulling, how many reps does that mean for you? The stronger it is, the heavier it is, the less reps. The easier it is, the more reps you're gonna have. All right, let's combine. Let's do that strengthening now, but let's add mobility. Seeing if you can come up, how high you can come. And if you possibly can come all the way over, don't force it. Wouldn't want to force something that's combining strength and flexion. Make sure the elbows again are locked. That gives you a better access to shoulder muscles. So they are rotated and strong, just like they were on the chair when they were holding up some of your body. But that's probably Nora. Just started, second half. Excellent. Take your time, give that pull. And one more here. So we're gonna anchor, we're gonna cause like a little instability, and that's what can be cool about this dance. They create this instability, and that is always a progression. Like master to move, and you make it a little unstable, right? You work on balance, but you put like a little wobble board and then you stand on that. It's always a progression. So go ahead and bring one arm all the way up. I'm gonna go low on this just to show you. That will be your anchor arm, right? So you're locking the elbow. We're not going loosey-goosey, we're locking the elbow. And we're gonna take some of the band and then we're gonna pull out. All right, you feel the instability? You want that. We want a little bit of that instability. As you pull down, control the poundage. So you can drop your hand down a little bit more and keep your arm anchored as you pull. You can go back to squeezing. You can keep that yoga block in the whole time we've been working. This works in front. If overhead is not working for you, you can have that in front and give a little pull. Like, doesn't take away. The whole idea is creating a little instability and a little asymmetrical of a move. So other arm up, lock the elbow up, strong that is your anchored arm, and pull opposite side. Really strengthening that one arm hold or push on something while you might move your other arm around and creating that little bit of instability, which just brings the muscles into attention, brings the mind into attention, brings the entire body into attention. Shifting, you got this asymmetrical move going on. It's really important that your core feels pretty solid in the center. Excellent. Okay, come out of it. Great. Nice beginning there. Nice beginning strength and mobility moves. And let's go into some of our stretches. So we've collected over the last couple of themes, right? Balance and strengthening was one of them. So we're going to stretch the front of the quad. It's going to require balance. I want you to feel centered before you even shift over to one side. Feel good about that side you're shifting on. It's okay to use the chair. Bring one leg back. Stay in the same plane. Try not to contort your body in order to grab that. And just see if you have that mobility. It's okay if you don't. It's still a lot of work to not grab. Right? Your glutes work a little bit harder. Our knees aren't, not all our knees feel good, bending all the way back. So it's okay if they're not doing that. These are always really hard, the components, and take your time. You're coming down the other side. I don't want to give you a hurry. I want you to shift and feel really good and solid about it. There's a lot going on in the lumbar right now, right? In this asymmetrical move. These segments seem so simple. They're not. You're combining balance with strength with a really deep stretch. Excellent, take your time. Come all the way down, and I'm gonna skip that progression in the chair. Hope that's okay. I'm gonna kind of get to our shoulder overhead sets. Just gonna do one of these today. So I'm gonna go with the deeper progression on the outside of the leg. Now, if you just wanna stretch the coronals, that's great. But once you put the leg behind, you're into that progression. So keep that in mind. So the stretch is for the outside of the shin, but I'm looking to do the tougher one today, where we come behind and you lift your arm up and you get the IT band along with the coronals. That's on the outside of the shin, and a little bit more. So there you go, there's that balance, there's that strengthening. And then as you switch, before you switch, you're bringing in Feldenkrais, you're bringing in awareness of movement, bringing in alignment, you're taking good care of your spine. Really combines it all. Opposite side, think about it. Do you feel better about that one in front, or do you want to go for the progression? Balance, strengthening, stretching. Taking your time, ending up, feeling really good about how you're shifting your weight. And one more here, so we're gonna go into the shin, and you can really control this. It can be as much of progression as you want. Weight shifting, lots of strengthening. Leg comes out in front, dorsiflex. Your objective is to get to the calf. The muscles behind, but look, you need to be working on strengthening that knee, and you don't have to go that low, right? If you're not feeling good about that knee, that's okay. But there can be a lot of strengthening going on here. And as you come up, you want to decide, like, would you like to push into sort of like a little Tai Chi there and just feel good and treat the spine? And opposite side. Just don't take for granted everything that's happening. Your balance and your strengthening. And your objective is to go into a deep stretch. Using the chair as just a little bit of help for alignment. And always taking your time coming out of it. And finding your alignment again. Excellent job. Nice stretches here. So go ahead and grab the band. So here's what we've done, get into it. A little bit of water too, if you can. Go ahead and step on the band. Trying to, you really spread it out there. You're going to be able to control the weight a little bit more. Won't feel as heavy. So keep that in mind. We're going to go into a squat. So it's up to you. Start to contract your biceps if you want, or you can just kind of work on that squat there, a little Tai Chi knee. I'm going to go easy out of the gate for the first 20 seconds. But there are definitely ways to make this a little bit harder. So if you go into a curl and you hold the curl and you squat, definitely have made it a little bit harder for you. In contracting the biceps. And this is just exactly what's happening when you're lifting a box. You don't have to do it every time. You can kind of come out of it a little bit. It's harder for your biceps and it's harder for your legs when you're adding resistance. Okay, come all the way up. So we're gonna have the second part of this. We're gonna actually go into the curl. So I want to see you do the full movement here. Keeping your elbows hinged out the side and just watching out for anything kind of funny going on, like maybe the shoulder trying to raise. You're coming from the elbow joint, working the bicep. This is our beginner shoulder class, by the way. Minimal progressions, just kind of getting used to how this band works, the properties of the band. It's just this band is all contingent. The muscle you're going to work is all contingent on where you are anchoring it, right? We're anchoring it down. That's going to dictate muscles work. When we anchor it up, like we did earlier, holding it up high, a different set of muscles. We can anchor it onto a door in front of us. Excellent. Okay, so the progression on this one is that we're just going to do a curl. I'm going to see if you can come out a little bit and just kind of work the instability. There's no really right or wrong way of doing this. It's just creating a little bit of instability and getting used to how the band works a bit different than weights. So I'm just coming out. I'm using my biceps. It's nice that we worked on that rotator cuff muscle movement earlier without the band. Excellent. Come out of it for a second. I want you to take good care of your wrists and thumbs, wiggle the fingers, grab some water. Just make sure you're doing okay with that. And there's nothing wrong with taking just a quick 5, 6, 7 second little break. I'm gonna go into lunge now, or staggered stance. Whatever you're comfortable with here. Let's get the legs fairly far apart. Let's not get into tandem. That's too hard when the legs are stacked as if you're trying to balance. Make sure you have some width between your legs. We're going to take on some form of lunge or some form of like a Tai Chi movement. It's always a good place to start, making sure you're feeling balanced, and then seeing how the knees are going to behave from there. You can come in and out of it how you feel comfortable. If you need to turn it into a single leg split squat, what that means is you're not using the back leg a lot. You're using the front leg a lot for just personal reasons. There's that move in there. There's the Tai Chi. You got some traditional lunge where you're trying to use both legs. And then you have that split squat where you're favoring that front leg. Traditional lunge is the knee comes so low, it's like a tennis ball between your knee and the floor. That's how much space. You can see I'm kind of doing a curl a little bit here. Exactly the positioning we are sometimes when we have a box and then we lift up when we're in a staggered stance. Excellent. Come all the way up and we're going to go into a curl from here. So we're into that staggered stance, or perhaps we're holding a little bit of the lunge or a little bit of that single leg split squat. And we're working some curl. And then I want you to go right into that kind of instability, like coming out a little bit. Maybe alternating right, alternating left. Yeah, this is a lot harder than that squat when we're in that position, right? And then take your time. You're going to switch, but it's very important to just take that opportunity of how you go side to side and throw in alignment. Switching legs. Other side gets the same exact treatment. Finding your movement. Split squat. Minimal back knee movement in a split squat. It's all about that front knee movement. And that lunge is just an equal. It's okay to move between the two. You need to move in a way that is realistic and functional for you. And then we're gonna wanna go into that curl. And creating that instability, and even more so again as you come out with the arms. We want that shaking. We want that perturbation. We talked about that last month in strengthening. It's not a sign of weakness. Look at it as a sign of like, I'm getting into some muscles that are not typically used this way. And that's a good thing. They're not used to that pattern that I'm doing. And take your time, come all the way up. Decide the safest way for you to do that. Grab some water, give your wrist a break again. And we're gonna go into a tricep kickback. So we're gonna start with the upper body. You're gonna see me pull the lower back in. Some of the lower moves we did, it's a little bit of the squat and the lunge. But right now we're just working on the tricep kickback. So come down. Right, some of us need to use a little bit more back than knee, but do use what you have here. And then from the shoulders, you can pull back. We're starting to use the tricep, that's the back of the upper arm. Or we got some choices here. Coming from the shoulders works for a lot of people. Some of us are able to lock the shoulder and start working from the elbow and getting a deeper contraction. And there's nothing wrong with doing both of them. This is your long aware of your movement. What needs to isolate? Feel the blades squeeze, come together. This is a hard combo because the front of the body, the chest doesn't always like to stretch, and the center of the blades doesn't always like to contract. So this is a toughie. But this is lifting furniture, isn't it? Right here, right? Someone's got the other side of it, you're in the front lifting. Dragging the trash can, something like that. Excellent, come all the way up. Now, if you like that and you're doing what your knees can do on that, stay in that range. I'm gonna go a little bit lower and I'm gonna kind of get on the squat a little bit more. And then I'm gonna go into the tricep. Gonna make it just a little bit harder, adding that lower body. Come up, we want to save something because we want to go into lunge. We're going to do lunge a little bit. I'm going to do that tricep kickback. So I have it on one leg, getting my staggered stance. Whatever you're comfortable here. What do you want to take it to? And then work the tricep. It won't kill you here. 5 or 6 is going to do it. Take your time coming up. Opposite side, same thing. Pulling in that staggered stance to potentially lunge or single leg split squat. Depends on what you got in the moment. 5 or 6 more moves to the tricep. However you're going to do it. Oh yeah, take your time coming out. Triceps are going to feel that, right? Give the rest a break again. Rotate the thumbs or rotate the fingers. And we'll go into a front raise. Anything that's coming away from the core, you're going to feel the core more. Staying on that band, we're going to bring what weight we can handle out in front. It's okay if you want to anchor it together, however you feel comfortable, or your legs, hands can be apart, whatever works, and just pull up in front. You can have wrists down, or you can hold like a hammer. Wrists turned in towards each other. We could get into the squat. We could get into the lunge. Let's call that more of an intermediate class. Let's keep this in beginner. And just get focused on a lot of the shoulder movements. Okay, come out, side raise. Working our way around the deltoids now. This is the anterior front deltoid. Now we're working more in the center, that top medial deltoid in the shoulder. Biceps are extended, but being asked to use, it's hard when a muscle is eccentric or lengthened, and you want it to strengthen. And we're gonna just combo the two. It's good for the body to be going into different planes. Mixing up those muscles. Excellent. And as that progresses, as this exercise progresses, we definitely can do more with crossing midline, and we'll get to that area as the classes progress. Rotate the wrists, grab your water, have that moment. We're going into a bent over row, and we will see it with the squat and the lunge two, or whatever Tai Chi move you're going to insert rather than bending your knees. Bent over row. So pull straight up. Have your elbows close in. You should be able to feel the squeeze between the blades. And let's not have your shoulders raised too much to your ears. Make sure you're dropping your shoulders down. Concentrating on the center and the back. Excellent. Good. Okay, I want to squat down more. You don't have to, right? You can just completely go into that second round without squatting. And I'm going to add that. I'm going to grab down a little bit more. And just my legs, my muscles more intact. What's happening? You feel any kind of pain in the lumbar, right? It's that C curve, not good, right? That means your hands are like, I don't want to do what I'm supposed to do. So make sure that you round out a little bit. Too much pressure on the knees, come up a little bit. We got to say something. So 5 or 6 moves. We got to say something. We've got to do lunge. Both legs. That's another 12, 10, 12 moves on each side on a row. So going wide, staggered stance. Bent over row. 5 or 6 times. A little instability. We want that. We're ready for it. Worked on strength last month. Balance month before that. Take your time switching. How do you want to do that? After you've done your 5 or 6. And it takes a while to get used to switching your feet on the band. It can be sticky or awkward at first. Like anything else, when you practice, the better you're going to get at it. Find out where you're at. Is it a staggered stance? Is it a lunge? What's going to work for you here? And row 5 or 6 times. Fantastic. Come all the way up. We've got one in the chair now. We're kind of getting ready to close out these circuits. We got the politically correct Ukrainian twist. We've renamed it. Won't tell you what it was named before. Go ahead and come into the chair. Stretch your legs out. So we're going to get into a little bit of what's called upward, seated upward. And just like you're driving, let your legs just kind of go long there. Breathe in and out. We're pulling the band there. And so we're going to end up turning, twisting. And I want to say that word because it's kind of like a little warning. But just like we do when we're driving, you have to use the thoracic range of your body. We're going to turn side to side. So you might want to just see what it feels like right now without pulling the band, or just having a little bit of a band pull. Upward staff pose. That's what I was stumbling to find. Okay, so I'm going to bring up, I'm going to create instability, right? I'm going to use core more, right? Because I'm getting the object away. So it's going to be using core more. And then I'm going to turn. Great core, right? Obliques right there, just contracting, just tightening for you. Come back up. Try not to rely on the lower back, which causes these to contract, right? We want to come up. We want to find that upward seated staff pose. And just work from there. So now we're getting kind of into the Pilates camp a bit. Great, you can do another one of these if you like this feeling. I'm going to go into a little bit more instability. I'm going to put on one foot. I'm going to bring that one foot up, right? It's not on the ground anymore. It's lively going to shake. It's going to move. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. It's okay if you want to bend your knee a little bit. I have an unstable anchor, like I did up above with my arm. An unstable anchor now. Take your time, other side. Definitely Pilates camp. Back up, unstable anchor. Decide how much you want to pull. And side to side. It doesn't have to, if you have the elements, it's good enough here. You're like, I get it. When my arms are away from my core, I'm going to feel it in my core more. I know where I'm turning from. I know where I'm not turning from. I know what needs to be stable for me, that foot. Excellent, and bring that down. So there's your beginner band workout. Take some big breaths. Inhale, exhale. And I always like to close it with seeing like, how is the neck feeling, which is a good indicator that you've done some good vagal toning. That's part of exercise. You've done some calming, gotten out of the fight-flight response. You're a little bit more into the response mode. So turn side to side. Feeling a little bit more like your insides match your outsides. Homeostasis. So don't go blow it, watching things that are going to cause disruption again.
Thank you, Tina.
Yes.